Or just said, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to have you all on board. I'm going to share my screen with you here so you can follow with the lesson. There we go. So everybody should be able to see my screen now. And you just set this up the way that I want. Just give me a moment. Hi, Zuridin. I see you're in the class there. How are you? If somebody wants to speak to me, make sure you click on your microphone, unmute yourself.
Hi, Mr. Adrian. I am fine, thank you. Glad to
Awesome.
see you. It's the first time I am attending your course.
Awesome. Okay. Well, happy to have you here. We're going to focus on the speaking today. There we go. Let's do it this way. This will be a little bit better. So we're going to focus on speaking in this class, everybody, on the IELTS speaking section. We're going to go through a full IELTS speaking interview with all three parts. I will tell you what the IELTS examiners are looking for, how to improve your scores, and you can ask me questions. So this is an interactive session. Please feel free to ask me questions. Let's focus the questions on the speaking section, but if you have questions for other parts of IELTS, that's okay too. So some of you may know me, some of you might not. Again, my name is Adrian. I have been teaching IELTS for about 20 years. My degree is in psychology. I have a couple of very popular IELTS YouTube channels. I'm a certified British Council agent. I work with IDP and with British Council as well. You can check out our websites, ahelp.com, glshelp.com, and of course, definitely check out IELTS, myteacher.Uzbekistan for a lot of help for getting ready for your tests. If you have questions that do not get answered in this session, you can send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com, and I will happily answer those questions, or you can contact my teacher as well with your questions, and I'm sure they will be happy to help you out. Like this live session, I host live sessions regularly on YouTube as well, so you can participate in those to maximize your English learning. And they're always posted on our YouTube channel when those live IELTS sessions are going. The next one will be starting on the 6th. Sorry, this is an older schedule here. Just want to make sure that I have the right content here. Yes, so here we go. This is where I'm looking. So the next session will be on the 6th, starting at 15 o'clock Universal Time. We also have lots and lots of videos on the channel to help you with your speaking. Here's one of those videos that you can check out when you have a little bit of time. All right, so let's get into the speaking a little bit. Let's talk about what it is, what you need to do. So the IELTS speaking section, it's done separately from the listening, reading, writing. It's a 12 to 15-minute interview, usually with a native English speaker, but not always. Sometimes students get surprised. Sometimes you might have a non-native speaker of English, so you might hear an accent. So it could be somebody who, for example, speaks originally Uzbek, but they have extremely good English. So don't be surprised by that. They are all trained and they know what they're doing and they know what they're listening for. So you have to go to your speaking exam at least 20 minutes before to check in with your identification. They will take your picture, and my suggestion is to go to your speaking at least an hour before your speaking exam starts. Does anybody know why I'm saying that? So why would I recommend that you go 1 hour before your speaking exam starts? Zuridin, are you the only one in the session so far? You're the only one I see on my side. Make sure to unmute yourself, Zuridin.
Can I answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Will you ask or I need to answer?
Yeah, so Zuruddin, why do you think that it's a good idea to go to the IELTS exam 1 hour before?
I think it's okay. It will be great if you go. If I go exam before an hour, and you will get ready. It will be time to get ready or review your exam, and you will how can I say? Uh, and you will feel confident if you go earlier to the exam.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in a nutshell, absolutely. So it gives you some time to get comfortable, get familiar with the place. And most importantly, what you want to do in that 1 hour is you want to practice your English. So you want to find other candidates who are waiting for their test, and you want to say, hey, are you here for your IELTS test? And I guarantee they will say, yes, I am, and I'm really nervous. And then you can say, okay, would you like to practice some questions? And they will be very happy if you do that. I've seen candidates do that. And then when you practice your speaking before your actual interview, it's going to go a lot better. It's going to be a lot smoother. So that's why you want to go an hour before. You want to get your brain going in English. Okay. So you go to the exam an hour early, you find other people, you talk to them in English, you go to the washroom, you check in, you get comfortable, you get confident, and then eventually the IELTS examiner will call you in for the interview. Now, a lot of people get really nervous when they see that examiner. The examiner is dressed professionally. So if it's a man, they're usually wearing a dress shirt, a tie, maybe a suit. If it's a woman, they're dressed professionally as well. You don't have to panic. They're human. They're there to measure your English. They're not there to judge your personality or the content of what you're saying. So you just have to stay calm and give your best English, okay? I tell students to think about the examiner kind of like your grandfather or your grandmother, okay? So thinking about the examiner like a grandparent is a really good kind of idea or concept. Anybody know why that is? So why is it a good idea to think of the examiner like a grandfather or a grandmother? Anybody have an answer for that?
Hello, Mr. Adrian.
Hi, who is this?
Machlio.
Hi,
Hi,
Machlio.
Machlio. Hi. Can I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you feel that your examiner is your grandparents, you can feel free to speak and to share your ideas with him or her.
Exactly. Yeah, Mario, you're absolutely right. Most people are quite comfortable with their grandparents because their grandparents are not judgmental. So their grandparents love them no matter what because you're the grandchild. Grandpa, grandma loves you. There are a couple other reasons. So other than just feeling really comfortable sharing information and speaking openly, what else? What other reasons? So when we talk to grandma and grandpa, usually, what do we need to do? There are a couple of interesting ideas or parts that we need to do when we talk to grandma and grandpa. What is that? Anybody can answer.
Can I answer?
Absolutely.
Good evening, Mr. Adrian, and good evening, everyone. I am Khurshida, and when you pass the exam and when you feel the examiner like grandma or grandpa, you don't be afraid and you don't be exciting by my opinion.
Okay.
You may answer fluently and you may answer all the questions.
That's true, Rashida. There's also a little bit more. So grandma and grandpa are usually they're pretty old, let's be honest. They're usually like at least in their 60s. For many of us, they're in their 70s or 80s even, right? So grandma and grandpa, they sometimes do this. Huh? What did you say? What are you saying? So what do you do when you speak to grandma and grandpa? Rashida.
You should speak fluently and completely and
Loudly, right?
loudly.
Okay. So, of course, when many candidates, when they're in their IELTS exam and they're nervous, they speak really quietly, like, here's my passport. Please take a look. My name is Adrian. So they speak quietly because they're nervous. When we're nervous, we tend to drop our voice. But with grandpa and grandma, we say, hi, grandpa, here's my ID that I used for registration. Have a look. So we speak with more emphasis, with more strength. And that's very important on the IELTS speaking because they're recording you. So they will say, I'm recording this session for marking purposes. And sometimes they need to play that recording, not just for themselves, but for another examiner to get the score. So if you're speaking quietly, if they can't hear you, that will drop your mark, okay? With grandma and grandpa, you speak loudly. So that's one reason why it's a really good idea to keep grandma, grandpa in mind, because you speak loudly. When you speak loudly, you automatically build confidence, okay? Now, there's another reason, another important reason, okay? And I literally am suggesting that when you go in there, take your grandma's picture and put it on the examiner's face, or your grandpa's picture and put it on the examiner's face. The other reason is the way we speak, okay? So for instance, can we do this with grandma? So I'm really popular these days. I have over 50,000 followers on IG. If I say this to grandma or grandpa, right? I'm really popular these days. I have 50,000 followers on IG. Will grandpa understand me?
No.
Yeah, anybody can speak. Just cut in. Let me know. Who said
Hello,
no?
Adrian.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm Mehrangis.
Hi, Mehrandis. So if I say to, or if you say to your grandmother, I'm really popular, I have 50,000 followers on IG, what do you think grandma might say?
No, they can't understand us because we should talk simply a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Because they can't understand about technology, such kind of modern science that kind.
Absolutely.
So we should talk with that. We should answer to their questions, how they asking, and we should talk what they want to know. We should answer to that questions.
Exactly. So when you talk with grandma and grandpa, you really have to empathize. You have to realize that, hey, this person doesn't know much about this technology or about this pop culture. So I have to really be careful with the way that I'm giving these answers and explanations and examples, right? So we would say something like this: I'm really popular these days on social media, where many people look at my videos on a piece of software called Instagram and send me messages. Okay, so now we move from a band 6 to a band 9 level communication. Okay, one of the most common mistakes for many IELTS candidates, especially those who have band 7, band 8, which means a good or very good level of communication. One of the most common mistakes they make is they talk to the examiner like they're their best friend or their neighbor, somebody who knows a lot about them, knows where they live, knows their hobbies, knows modern technology, knows a lot about Uzbekistan, Tashkent, about the people, the culture. You can't talk to the examiner like that, okay? Especially if your examiner is not even Uzbek. So if your examiner is visiting from the UK and they're there on a work contract and you talk to them like they're somebody who's Uzbek, they will kind of look at you and be like, okay. So you have to be cautious of that, okay? So keep this piece of advice in mind that the examiner is your grandpa, grandma. Feel comfortable, confident, speak loudly, and speak with detail. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. Show up to the exam early. You can also do like emojis in Zoom, so you can do like little thumbs up and they'll come up through the screen that you will see. Just seeing why this. Okay, here, let's put it there. All right, so so that's how you want to prepare yourself mentally for your IELTS speaking test. Now, in the 20 minutes, so I said you have to check in 20 minutes before you see the examiner, and then you have 20 minutes. And again, make sure that you're practicing your English, you're talking to other candidates. Everybody at the exam center should be using English only. That's the rule. So the rule for the IELTS exam centers, if you're going to British Council or IDP, the rule is that everybody should be using English. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes the volunteers, the people working there, will actually use the local language, okay? If that happens, just stay in English. So if one of the invigilators, so the people who are helping, they're called invigilators, if one of the invigilators speaks to you in Uzbek or in Russian or another language, just say, if you don't mind, I'd like to continue speaking in English in preparation for my test, and stay in English, okay? It's a very important point. Don't switch your mind between languages. Stay in English, okay? All right, everybody. So now, before you get into part one with your examiner, what you should have with you, maybe on your phone or on a piece of paper, is a checklist of important points to follow when you're giving answers, okay? So I strongly recommend to prepare a checklist of important strategies. Can everybody see my screen okay? Yes?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure I'm not losing anybody. How's my speed, everybody? Are you understanding me clearly? Am I speaking too quickly? Let me know.
No, it is not
Yes,
quickly. We understand.
Okay, good. Yeah, that just like that. Just throw your comments in. It's okay if I hear multiple people. It's fine. All right, great. So prepare a checklist of important strategies that you need to follow, okay? Because in the IELTS speaking, you don't just have to speak English, but you have to speak your best English, okay? You're not just talking to a friend. Go ahead. Did somebody have a question?
Şu mu? Malkin işte yaptı. O Aziz.
Yeah, I think somebody just has their mic on by accident. All right. So prepare an important checklist of strategies. All right. Now, the first strategy that I tell everybody to always think about when you're doing your IELTS exam is think about answers plus explanations plus examples. Okay. This 1, 2, 3 answer, explanation, example should be going through your mind constantly in the 12 to 15 minutes while you're in the interview. Let's just jump to some of these part one questions and I'll show you what I mean with this first strategy. Would somebody like to answer this first question for me? The question is, do you like to draw or paint? Does anybody want to answer that question?
May I answer?
Sure. Who is this?
Urshida.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. So do you like to draw or
The
paint?
first question, do you like draw or paint? Why? Why not? I like drawing, but I cannot draw very clearly and very beautiful. Always I like drawing flowers, trees, and nature. And when I am free, especially at the weekends, sometimes I give pencil and I draw nature, flowers, and trees.
Okay. So may I have your name again, please? So who just answered? What was your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Khurshida.
Farshida. Okay, Farshida. I'll try to remember. It's very different from names I'm used to, but that's fine. Okay, Farshida. So not bad. Okay, so this would be about a band 5 to 5.5 answer. You need to be a little bit more fluent, so you need to be a little bit faster. Band 6 is given when the examiner feels that the candidate can speak without effort fluently. And it felt like there was a little bit of effort. So you had to give a bit of effort to keep going fluently. That's one point. Now, we can improve that, and I'll show you how. So the question was, do you like to draw or paint? And you said, I like drawing, but I cannot draw beautifully. I love to draw flowers in nature, especially on the weekends. I draw landscapes. Okay, so mountains, flowers, trees, that's called landscapes. Now, this is an okay response, but there's something missing from this answer. What is missing from this answer? Farshida, do you know what's missing from your answer?
I am checking. Just a minute, please.
The answer.
I think
Yes,
she.
I like.
It's not good ending, I suppose.
Okay, we've
No,
got a couple of
I
opinions. Go ahead.
Interesting explanation. Maybe there is no any explanation. Just she said, she answered, and what she drew, what kind of picture or that, but she didn't explain.
Yes, very
No,
good.
I think-
So, yeah, that's the answer. That's the correct answer. So whoever thought that, yeah, and everybody who thought that, you're right. Okay. Now, notice how on the question sheet, the why not, it's in brackets. Okay. So the examiner will only ask the why not if they don't hear the explanation. So again, that's why I said that your very first checklist strategy before you go into your IELTS exam should be answer plus explanation plus example. So you want to practice this. When the question is, for example, do you like to draw or paint? You can say, even though I cannot draw beautifully, I love to draw flowers and nature on the weekends when I have time, because this is a great way for me to relax and connect with the beauty that surrounds me, the mountains and forests near my home. I drew a picture of the lake outside my window last Saturday. Okay, so that would be your band 9 level answer. Okay, so here you have that answer. And, you know, this part that I cannot draw beautifully, it's making it more complex. If you're having trouble with that, then you can simplify it and not state that, but you definitely want to explain it. So even though I cannot draw beautifully, I love to draw flowers and nature on the weekends when I have time, because this is a great way for me to relax. So the word because, okay, should be coming to your mind automatically. Every time you get a question, it should be because, since, as a result. So all of those cause and effect, all of the reasons, right? There are a lot of linking words or joining words that indicate the reason or the causality of our ideas and actions, right? Those should be automatic in your language, in your answers, right? So the examiner isn't asking you why. Farshida, would you like to try this one more time? Do you like to paint or draw?
Yes, of course. Even thought I cannot drive beautifully. I love to draw flowers and nature on the weekends when I have time, because this is a great way for me to relax and connect with the beauty surrounds me the mountains and forest near my house. I drew a picture of the lake outside my window last Saturday.
Okay, so that's what they're looking for. Now, this is a bit complex. You can say it in a simpler way. Most importantly, you need the explanation and the example, just like that. Okay. All right. So that should be, you're very welcome. So that should be on your notes. On your checklist, another good piece to have is to remember to use both qualitative and quantitative language. Does anybody know what quantitative language means? So what does quantitative language, what does that mean?
It's the amount of something, numbers or amount of something, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Who's speaking?
It's the lorem.
One more time, please.
The lorem.
The lorom. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if my pronunciation is horrible, but your answer is correct. That's the good news. Okay. Yeah, so quantitative language means numbers. Absolutely. Why is it important to use numbers? Delorum, do you know why it's important to use numbers in our communication?
I think it's important because it's the fact and it's more interesting to listen something. I think it's just my humble opinion.
Okay, in your IMO, right? Kind of. There's a better answer. Anybody else know why numbers are so important?
May I? Make a
Mhm.
list, maybe the
Sorry.
opinions.
Yeah, who's asking may I? Somebody's saying may I? Who's that?
Alia.
Alia,
It helps
Alia.
us.
Mhm.
Alia. It helps us to find the correct verb, the correct form of verb, and it will be best grammar if you find correct numbers.
It's okay. Partly you're right. So quantitative language helps our fluency. It does help us with language, with verbs, and it helps our fluency. I'll show you that in just a moment. It's still not the best answer, though. There's an even better reason to use numbers. Let me give you a hint, okay? If I say, for example, I live in a beautiful large home, is that qualitative or quantitative?
Quantitative.
Qualitative.
Qualitative.
Yes,
Because-
that's right. Because I said it's a beautiful large home. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my question. How big is my home?
Very big.
But how big? Very, okay, sure. Somebody's optimistic. How large? How large is it? We don't know, right? The correct answer is here. We have no idea. It could be a 3-bedroom, it could be a 5-bedroom, it could be a 10-bedroom with 6 bathroom. We don't know because we don't have numbers. You have to remember that math is the universal language. We say this in every language. So math is the universal language. As I said, the examiner is a stranger. They don't know you, okay? They don't know what a large home in Uzbekistan is. So a large home in Beijing, China is 2 bedrooms. A large home in Vancouver, Canada is 6 bedrooms. So we have differences of opinions and ideas, and the way that we can make sense, the way that we can understand this is by using numbers. So the number one reason we use quantitative language in the IELTS is to increase coherence, and it really helps to boost the score. A lot of candidates, as soon as they start using some numbers in their communication, their band score goes up by like a half a band or a full band immediately, because they're more fluent and they're more coherent. And the most important score is your coherence. So you can have good grammar, you can have good vocabulary, but if you don't have coherence, your score is low. If your grammar is so-so, your vocabulary is so-so, but you have great coherence, you're going to get a fairly decent score. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So use numbers, okay? It's kind of funny. We as humans, we're very emotional. So humans by nature are qualitative. We love talking to each other in qualitative ways. So, oh, I live in this amazing place. It's so beautiful. There's so much space and I have a ton of fun every weekend. It's like, okay, that sounds great, but I still have really no idea what you do and where you live, right? So this is the irony of our communication as humans. We tend to have a lot of qualitative communication, but not a lot of quantitative communication. So for professional, high-level communication, we have to train ourselves to be quantitative. Let's try a question and I'll show you what I mean, okay? Here, let's do this one. Does somebody want to volunteer for this next question? Somebody can just jump right in.
May I talk?
Sure.
May I answer?
Sure. Who's this?
Mehranis.
Mahranis. Okay, Mahranis, I'll ask you the question and then you can give an answer. So did you study art in school?
To be honest with you, I studied art at school. I was the best student, best pupil in my art lesson, and I liked that lesson, that subject. That's all I see.
Okay. So Mahranis, do you have any quantitative language in here?
Quantitative?
Yeah, any
or
numbers?
quality?
Is there any quantitative language in here? Any numbers in here?
No. I
No.
didn't use.
Okay, where can you use it?
I have been studying for two.
Yeah, I studied art in school when I maybe 4 years ago. I should say, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
keep going,
5 years
Mahranis.
ago.
I know everybody's like, I got it. Okay, let's give Mahranis a chance here. So there's different ways. So now you're starting to realize, okay, there's a lot of ways we can use quantitative language. Mahranis, give it a shot. So think about the listener. So think about the listener's mind, what they're thinking, right? So try to add the numbers in here. Okay, so try it one more time. Did you study art in school?
And to be honest with you, I studied art at school when I was 12 years old, maybe. I was top student in this.
Yeah, okay, much better. So we're getting there, all right? First of all, Mahranis, and this is for everybody, don't say to be honest with you, okay? It's strange. Native English speakers do not use this phrase in every situation. We only use that in some rare situations where we have a difference of opinion, okay? So if you ask me like, Adrian, do you like ice cream? And I would say, to be honest with you, I don't, because I find ice cream sweet. That's where I would use it because it's surprising to disagree with not liking ice cream, right? So we don't use the to be honest with you. It's a template. IELTS examiners do not like template language, okay? They will drop your scores for that. So don't use it, only if it's correct. Okay, so for example, if the examiner asks you, do you think technology is helping people? To be honest with you, I don't think it is. I think technology is hurting society and youth because they don't get enough exercise. So that's where I would use it. Okay, but not in this situation. In this situation, it's strange. So here, focus on that quantitative language. When I was 12 years old, I studied art in school. And we can keep going with more quantitative language. Does somebody want to help Mahranis here with a little bit more quantitative language and add to this answer? When I was 12 years old, I studied art in school. For anybody can jump in. Keep going with some quantitative language. For an hour each day until, yeah, keep going.
This I should study. Study was 2 days in a week.
Yeah, sure. So when I was 12 years old, I studied art in school for an hour, 2 days a week.
In our group, we will 5 or 6 peoples.
Sure. Yeah.
student.
Until I graduated at the age of 18, and I was the best in my class of anywhere from 20 to 25 students. Sure. So lots of places where we can use quantitative language, right? So did you study art in school? Yes. When I was 12 years old, I started studying art in school for an hour every 2 days a week until I graduated, until the age of 18. And I was always the best in my class of anywhere from 20 to 25 students. That's a lot of quantitative language, and I guarantee you that that will get you some very high band scores, okay? But you need to practice that. So, Mekranis, one last time, are you ready? Did you study art in school?
I should read that, your answers?
You can read it, or you can just try it without reading.
Okay. Yes, when I was 12 years old, I studied art in school for an hour, 2 days a week, maybe twice a week. Yeah, as I said that.
Mm-hmm.
Until I graduated at the age of 18, and I was the best in my class of anywhere from 20 to 25 students.
Much better. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Okay, so again, you need this checklist. So I'm jumping back here. Thank you, Mekranis, to this checklist of strategies. Okay, so you want to have this checklist. So before you walk into your IELTS exam, you should have about 6-7 different points on this checklist. And then they will remind you that, okay, I have to give explanations, examples. Okay, I have to use lots of quantitative language. Quantitative language, by the way, especially important for part 2. Okay, part 2, it becomes especially important. And there will be some others as well. Let's do a little bit of practice, and then I'll teach you some more strategies as we go along. Who would like to volunteer and practice part 1 with me for the IELTS speaking? So just the kind of the introductions. Sure. Who's this?
May I? Zarina.
I have a
Zarina.
question.
Okay,
Yes.
just a second. Everybody will get a chance, and I love how you're all jumping in now. Now I can feel your
I have
ambition.
a
That's great.
question.
Yes.
Wait with the question. Let's give Zarina a chance to practice the introduction. And after the introduction, whoever just said they want to ask a question, you can ask after, okay? So let's give Zarina a chance here to practice the introduction, and there will be a chance for the questions. Okay, Zarina, are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Okay, here we go. So welcome to the speaking section of the IELTS exam. My name is Adrian. I will be your examiner for this part of the test. The test has 3 parts. I will give you instructions for each. May I see your identification?
Yes, sure.
Yes, sure.
What is your full name?
My full name is Magdiva Zarina Bonu.
What should I call you?
Zarina, if you want.
Okay, Zarina, for part 1, I will ask you a couple of questions to get to know you better and some questions on a general topic. Do you work or study?
Right now I'm working. I'm working at the high school. 3 years ago, I'm working in this place.
What do you do at the weekends?
Weekends, I all time spend my time with my family, and I love to draw and art if I have time, maybe 1 hour or 2.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. All right, so far, Zarina, that would be about a band 5. So that would be considered modest level of English, okay? I would not
5, yeah?
Yeah, it would be about a 5 so far, yeah. Modest English. Band 6 needs to be fluent. This isn't considered fluent language. This is too short. It feels unnatural. So if, Zarina, if I met you at a party for the first time and we talked to each other like this, I would feel a little bit like, why are you speaking to me in such a short way? Like maybe I smell bad, or maybe I look funny or something, and you don't want to talk to me. So it's like, may I see your identification? Yeah, sure. Okay. What's your full name? My full name is Zarina. Well, okay. So I'll go get a drink now. Thank you. So you want to be more expressive, first of all. Okay, more expressive.
Because
So
I'm right now for native speaker. I'm do the. It's right. It's me. I have let's say
Excited.
exciting right now.
yeah, you're
This way
nervous,
maybe.
you're anxious. Absolutely. And there are two situations that happen when people are nervous or anxious. One, they don't speak enough, or two, they speak too much. Like they're like, do you work or study? Right now I'm working at this school and I have tons of kids in my class and I really like, and then I just talk too much. And it's like, well, okay, sorry, I'll go get a drink. Right. So you want to speak just enough, right? So let me give you a little bit of feedback here, Zarina. First of all, IELTS is a professional conversation. Okay. So you have to show your best English. When the examiner says, may I see your identification, saying yes, sure is not enough. All right. You have to be a little bit more professional. So you have to say something like, yes, of course, here is my passport I use to register. Please take a look. Okay, so this would be considered professional communication, right? Let's try this, Zarina. May I see your identification?
Yes, of course. Here's my passport. I use it to register. Please take a look.
Take a look. Yeah,
Take
much
a
better,
look.
right? Immediately we feel like, okay, we're in a professional situation. I respect you, you respect me, and it's clear. It's not like, yeah, sure, right? If when you're traveling to Canada or Britain, UK or Australia, and the customs officer says, can I see your passport? Don't just go, yeah, sure, and show it to them and say, yes, of course, here it is, right? Take a look at it. So, professional, right? They're professional people. Okay. So the next question, what is your full name? The examiner is always thinking, what should I call you? Okay.
May.
So
Answer the question.
So you
Answer
should
the
say,
question, part one.
my full name is, sorry, I didn't catch your full name, but let's say my full name is Magdima Zarina. Please call me Zarina.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
Zarina, what is your full name?
My full name is Magdiva Zarina. If you want, you call me Zarina.
Not if
Please
I
call
want.
me Zarina.
Yeah,
Please
not if I
call me
want.
Zarina.
Yeah.
Because I didn't read this. Please call me Zarina.
Yeah, I know. It's just, it makes me smile, right? Because it's a little bit strange to say that, especially to a person that you don't know. Like if you want, you can call me Adrian, right? It's like, okay. No, please call me Zarina, right? So you're making me blush,
Okay.
Zarina.
Please call me Zarina.
All right, good. Now the next question is, do you work or study, right? Your answer was okay here.
Yeah.
You said right now I'm working at a high school. And then you said 3 years ago, I'm working in this place. That's a little bit off the grammar there. So I have been working at this school for the past 3 years. Okay, there's a little bit of a problem with the answer though. It's missing information. What information is missing here?
I'm working.
Can anybody help Zarina? Just a sec, Zarina. Let's see if so everybody knows that it's not just me
Where
that's thinking
I'm
this.
working? No.
No, wait. Let's wait for other people, because you'll notice that we all think the same way. So does anybody know what is missing here? So what is like
As a teacher.
right? See, notice how everybody feels the same piece is missing.
I'm working as a teacher. You should say.
Teacher of what? Teacher of biology, math, grade 3,
Russian
high school.
teacher. Russian teacher.
As a language teacher. Okay, good. In what grade? Grade 5, grade 8, high school, middle school, everybody? What's the school? What's the grades?
Everybody.
Zarina?
Everybody.
How old are your students, Zarina?
My students 20, 25, 16, 17 years.
17 all the way to 25.
Yes.
So are you teaching in college?
College and university.
College, okay, that's really important, right? When you said
Ah.
high school, I thought you said high school, but it's obviously not high school, it's college. So right now I'm working at a college and university, teaching Russian.
Teaching Russian.
Okay. I have been working at this school for the past 3 years. Okay. So now it's a much better answer. Okay. So coherence is very important. So Zarina, one more time, do you work or study?
Right now I'm working at the college and university teaching Russian. I have been working at this school for the past 3 years.
Much better. Okay. So that's how you're going to get at least a band 6.57 is by giving that kind of an answer fluently. Okay. Is that clear? All right. So clear communication, very, very important. All right, Zarina, thank you so much. Who would like to volunteer for the next few questions?
I have a question about my pronunciation.
Yes, sorry. Pronunciation is okay. I'm going to two steps here. Just give me a moment. So Zarina asked about the pronunciation. Number one, pronunciation is not that important on the IELTS. If I can understand you, if I know the word that you're saying, your pronunciation is okay. All right. So pronunciation is not that important. English is a global language. So we have a lot of different pronunciations of English, Australian, American, Irish, Indian. So pronunciation is not that important as long as I can understand. Okay. If I can understand you, the pronunciation's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. Somebody had a question. You're welcome, Zarina.
I have Adrian.
Yeah, so somebody had a question before Zarina started speaking. Who was that? Go ahead with your question.
Me.
Okay, go ahead.
How I understand quantitative language is we must add numbers here.
Okay, just a second. Sorry, if you're not speaking, everybody. If you're not speaking, everybody mute your microphone. Okay, so if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Click on the microphone. Okay.
Switch off your microphone, please.
Yeah, switch off your microphones, please, if you're not speaking. Okay. So whoever had that question, go ahead, please.
How I understand, in quantitative language, we must add numbers, yes?
That's correct, yes.
What? It was question.
Yes. So, okay, good. I'll give you a little bit more here. So if I understand you correctly, the question is, so in quantitative language, we have to add numbers. Yes. And okay, quantitative language isn't just numbers. Let me show you. Okay. So Zarina answered this question. What do you do at the weekends? Okay. Now, when we say weekend, we can say, for example, on Saturday, I spend time with my family. And on Sundays, when I have some time for myself, I love to draw pictures for maybe an hour or two. Okay. So notice here, the quantitative language isn't just numbers, it's also days. So on Saturday, on Sunday, okay? And so quantitative language isn't just numbers, okay? We use other measures as well to quantify, like days of the week or months of the year or seasons. For example, in summer, I like to do this. In winter, I like to do that.
We should count every facts, yes?
We should use numbers and vocabulary that all people understand. So everybody in the world understands summer, winter, Saturday, Sunday, right? So we use measurements that people understand. Does that make sense?
Like give details, right?
It's not just details, but it's quantification, right? So it's a measurement that your listener understands clearly. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was good. Now, one more time, everybody. If you're not speaking, make sure your microphone is off so that it's clear. Okay, so turn the microphone off when you're not speaking. Who would like to volunteer for the next few questions?
May I?
Who's this? Yeah, who was that? Who said maybe I?
Nadira.
برنامج شاشمه ترویلا عزیزم میکروفونیز اوچر پوین.
Okay, whoever said maybe
Sorry to
I.
bother you, Mr. Adrian.
No, that's okay. Whoever said maybe I, who was that?
Nadira.
Nodra. Okay,
May I?
Nodra. Yes, I think we haven't heard from Nodra yet. I want to give everybody a chance, right? So let's keep switching it up. Okay, Nodra, let's do this. Okay, so I'll ask you a couple of questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Have you ever been to an art show?
No, I haven't been in art show because I'm not interested in any art. But I really love to watch drawing picture on the YouTube or TV.
If you could make any piece of art, what would it be?
I'm not very well drawer, so I think I can't draw.
Okay. All right. So that would be about a 5.5 band. Okay. And your first answer was better. Your first answer was closer to a 6.5. Your second one was more of a 4.55. So between the two, about a 5.5. Okay. First of all, the answer you gave here was good because you used the grammar of the question. What is the grammar of this question? Have you ever been? What grammar is that?
Present perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Lots of you got that. Thank you. A lot of people like present perfect. Okay. Yeah. You got to just get used to Zoom. So when you want to say something, turn the mic on. When you don't, turn the mic off. Good. So yeah, this is present perfect. Another very important tip for your IELTS exam is to always reflect the grammar of questions. Okay. The examiners are watching for that. So the examiner question sheet is designed with different grammar in mind. So they're looking for the different types of grammar. So on your checklist, when you go to your IELTS exam, you should definitely have this point, reflect the grammar of the questions. Okay. So you did a really good job reflecting the grammar here. I said, have you ever been to an art show? And right away you said, no, I haven't been in an art show because I'm not interested in any art. Now, keep in mind, everybody, that giving negative answers like, no, I haven't, is often more difficult than giving positive answers. Like, yes, I have been to lots of art shows. The last time I went to an art show was a month ago. I saw an exhibit on Michelangelo's sculptures. So it's usually easier to give a positive answer than a negative, even if it's not true. Okay, so be careful with negative answers. Negative answers are often difficult, like the no answers, okay? And they're conversation stoppers. The next question here, if you could make any art piece, what would it be? What's the grammar of this question?
Conditional.
It's a conditional. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a conditional type, right? And don't worry about first, second, third condition. Doesn't matter. Okay. You just have to realize that it's a conditional. Okay. All right. So I'm not very well drawer, so I think I can't draw. It's not going to do so well for this question. How should I start this this answer? What's a good way to start this? Sorry, who answered this question? I forgot your name. It was Adra. Adra, can you start this question differently with the condition?
If I could make Any art
Would
piece?
make any
Mhm.
art piece.
Just Adra,
Yeah.
please, just Adra. So Adra, if I could make any art piece, yes. Keep
Hmm.
going.
If I could make any art piece, I would make. I would make
Visualize, picture it. Keep it simple.
Portrait.
Okay, sure, I would paint
Nature.
a portrait.
If I could make any art piece, I would make nature.
Nature. So I would paint a
I
nature
would paint a nature.
landscape of the mountains around my house, right? So let's finish that.
Okay.
So Andra, one more time. If I could make any art piece, I would paint a nature landscape of the mountains around my house.
If I could make any art piece, I would paint a nature landscape of mountains around my house.
And send it to my friend in Germany.
And then,
Yeah, keep going. And send it to my friend in Germany.
and send it to friend of Germany.
And send it to my friend in Germany.
I send it to friend of my Germany.
So she can put it on her wall. Keep going. So she can put it on her wall.
So she can put it on her wall.
And know how much I care for her.
And know how much I care for her.
Okay, try the whole piece. I'll say it one more time. And everybody else who's listening, I encourage you to try it. Just don't turn on your microphones. So just repeat, but don't turn on your microphone, okay? So if I could make any art piece, I would paint a nature landscape of the mountains around my house and send it to my friend in Germany so she can put it on her wall and know how much I care for her. Andra, if you could make any art piece, what would you make?
If I could make any art piece, I would paint a natural landscape of the mountains around my house and send it to my friend in Germany so she can put it on her wall and know how much I care for her.
Andra, that's how you get a band 8, band 9. Okay. So, and you can do it. So I know some of you are thinking, ooh, that's a lot. But you just reflect the grammar, right? So it all starts by reflecting the condition. If I had the chance, this is what I would do. Explanation. Why? Because this is what I could do with that painting or that sculpture, right? Does that make sense, everybody? Yes?
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Andra.
Yes, it does.
Okay, let's continue on a little bit here with part 2. So any questions about part 1 speaking of the IELTS exam, everybody? So now's a good chance or a good opportunity to ask me questions specifically for part 1 of the IELTS speaking. Any questions?
No
No,
question.
thank
I think everything was clear.
Okay, good. That's a good sign. I thought I scared everybody. Nobody wants to turn their mics on anymore. Mics off. We've gone from one side to the other side. Everybody mics on, now everybody's mics off. Click that mic on and off. Okay, let's do part 2. So at this point, the examiner will say that is the end of part 1. We will now continue with part 2. For part 2, I will show you some questions on in a booklet. You will have 1 minute to read these, think about your answers. Then you will have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. I will tell you when to start, when to stop. Talk about a club that you have been a member of in the past. Okay, so club membership. A club that you have been a member of in the past. Now, there are a lot of tips and lessons that I can give you for part 2. Right now, we'll just focus on some of the most important points, okay? So first of all, when you see this kind of a card and then it says, what was this club? How long were you in this club? What did you do in this club? Do you like being a member of this club? And why did you stop? Okay, or did you like being a member and why did you stop? So you read the card carefully. To get good marks, you have to answer all the questions on the card. Okay, you cannot miss questions. Continue paying attention to grammar. Okay, so talk about a club that you have been a member of in the past. Okay, so this is, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, but for part 2, can we answer like about any clubs, or it should be related to art, some kind of?
No, so part 1 and part 2 are not connected. So part 2 is any club. It can be a sports club, like a like a football club, for example, or a badminton club, volleyball club. Okay, so it can be a sports club. It could be an art club, like a dance club, club for painting, a club for music, for playing the piano. So there are a lot of different types of clubs, obviously, and it can be any of those clubs. Okay, any of those clubs. That's a very good question. It's a very important question. I'll show you why in just a second. So first of all, you realize, okay, it's present perfect. It's in the past. So this is a club I used to be a member of, or a club that I had been a member of, or I have been a member of, and I'm still a member. So it started in the past and maybe ended or maybe continues until now. Okay. All right. Now, a very important tip for part 2. Okay. And you should put this on your checklist card as well. It's a really good one to add to your card, is think of at least 2 to 3 ideas for part 2. Okay. One of the most common mistakes for candidates on the IELTS exam is they think of just one answer and then they go with it. So, for example, a lot of people will probably go, oh, football club. I've been in a football club. And then that's their answer. And then they go with it, right? So they'll go, oh, football club. And they'll pick that and then they just go and they talk about the football club. And that's okay. And you might get a good score, okay, or a good mark, depending on how you speak and what you say. But for example, a football club might not be the best choice to answer this card. Why? Can anybody tell me why talking about being a member of a football club might not be the best choice to answer this card?
For example, you
Because of the
can
sport.
lose
This
your
is a sport,
idea,
yeah.
or when you have several answers, like I was playing in a football club, then I exit and started playing another. It gives more chance, like talking. You should talk 2 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think.
It's
Am
not
I
a
right?
bad thought. Not what I was thinking, to be honest. Not what I was thinking. But it maybe. It's a tricky answer. How many people in Uzbekistan, when they have this question on the IELTS exam, how many people do you think will choose football club?
Most of people.
Oh, you mean
Mostly men choose.
A lot of guys.
500,000.
Lot of guys, yeah.
I love the quantification. I don't know who said that, but the gentleman who just said that, I love that quantification. He said 500,000. That was great. Yes, absolutely, right? A lot. What is a lot? 500,000. Yeah, and that's not a good situation, right? So when you have every second candidate saying football club, football club, football club, it becomes a problem. Why? Because it's impossible for the examiner not to compare you to others. So if you walk in to this exam and you start talking about a football club and there was somebody who went in before you and they were a very high band person, so they were almost like a native speaker, and they started by saying, I have been a member of my local football club for the past 10 years, mostly playing in the position of a striker, but also even able to play as goalkeeper if need be. And if you had somebody go in there and talk like this about football club, and then you go in there with your best English, the examiner might compare you and say, well, I gave the last guy 7 or 8 for that, so I have to give this guy nothing more than a 5, even though it was not bad, right? Because there's a comparison that happens in their head. Do you see what I mean by that? That it's not good to follow the popular answer in most situations. Okay, so for part 2, you want to think of a couple of answers. So football club comes to mind first, and you're like, okay, football club, but maybe there are some other clubs that you were part of, like a language club, or maybe a chess club. Okay,
Or core club.
Sorry, what was that?
Core club.
Yoga.
Okay, yoga club, choir.
Choir. Does it sound like choir, right?
Choir. I think that's what somebody was saying. There was a choir, like a singing, a club for singing. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you want to think of 2, 3 answers and then go, okay, that one's really popular. That one's really difficult to talk about. So I'm going to talk about my yoga club, because yoga club may be a little bit popular. Maybe some people are saying this, but not everybody's going to say this. It's quite easy to talk about. I'm familiar with it. I go to my yoga club 2 times a week for a really good workout. I know some of the positions in English, like upward facing dog, downward facing dog. So I can talk about that, use some interesting vocabulary. So I'm going to go with yoga club for this question. And then you have a much better idea for part 2, and it will set you up for part 3 also. Okay, so choosing a good answer for part 2 is super important to get a good band score. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes,
Shall I
sure.
start?
All right. So
Shall I
don't just go with the first idea that comes to mind. It might be a good one, but maybe not. So be careful. Okay. All right. Let's take somebody to practice part 2. We've talked about clubs and ideas, so we can just get somebody to try it. Would somebody like to try? Is there a gentleman out there? We've heard of, is there a gentleman out there who would like to try this?
Girls are so brave here.
Right? Girls are brave. Guys are like, oh. Well, if we have no gentlemen out there, then definitely somebody who hasn't spoken yet.
I have.
Okay, yeah, wait a second. We have a gentleman's voice. We have a brave gentleman there. Who's the gentleman?
Yeah, we have always brave, and we are gentlemen. That's why I always respect.
Ah, that's why we let the ladies
first.
go. Ladies first, right? We let the ladies go first. Okay. All right, who's the gentleman that's speaking?
I am also ready
Shall
to
I
answer.
start?
My name is Murad.
Murad. Okay, let's give Murad a chance, everybody. So Murad, thank you. Okay, we'll give Murad a chance. Everybody else, please mute your microphones, okay? Murad, I'm going to condense the questions here so you can see them, and we'll get you going here in a second, okay? So are you ready, Murad? Yeah, okay. So here,
yes,
let me do it. Okay, here, just a sec. I'll start you off. Okay. So we will now continue with part 2. For part 2, I will show you some questions. You will have 1 minute to prepare, and you will have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. Talk about a club that you have been a member of in the past. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Well, just when I was a kid, I mean, just if I'm not mistaken, it was 20 years ago. I had been studying at school, ninth grade, I mean, and I was a member of Crescent Club. It is just Crescent Club. How to say? What did you do? From this club, we had been doing just helping people who is poorly or who had an accident, and well, and we are preparing such kind of situation. We were preparing. Sorry. Next, what did you? Of course, I like it. I really like it being a member of this club because it makes me feel how to say, relaxed, and I feel pleasant when I was here. And I have been going for this club for about 3 years, and after graduating school, I have finished my. I have stopped at my. Let's say just career, if we say it's career, and
Okay, your time is up. I will stop
Yes.
you there. And we will now go on to part 3. All right, Murad, first of all, A for effort. That was, sorry, that was awesome. That was really good effort. So great. I know it's really challenging and it's stressful to be put on the spot and be like, oh, okay, I got to speak for 2 minutes on this. All right. So first of all, one good strategy that you used here is anytime you got stuck, and notice everybody how Murad did this, where when Murad got stuck, he immediately checked the card and we could hear him. He was like, how long were you in this club? And then he started answering, I was in this club for about 3 years. So that was really good. That's what you should do. When you get stuck, look at the questions, look at the note paper. A lot of candidates, when they're in the IELTS exam and they get stuck, they panic, they freeze up and they don't do anything. And then the examiner has to stop them and the score just goes. So no, it was good that you didn't panic, Murad. You just kept going and it was good. All right. So being a member of a club is an event. Okay. So in the IELTS for part 2, the cue card will ask you either about a person, like talk about your best friend. It will ask you about an object. So talk about some technology that you bought last year. So it's an object. It might ask you about a place. So talk about a place where you learned some good information. It can ask you about an idea. So talk about a business idea that you had, and it can ask you about an event. So talk about the last time you went on a holiday. In this case, it's talk about a club that you had been a member of. So that's an event. Okay. When you're talking about an event, there's logical information. Okay. So time is one, right? And you said that when I was a kid 20 years ago, right? Location is another piece. So this was in the 22nd High School of Tashkent, quite near the center of the city. So the location, and the club was in one of the classrooms every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. Okay, so time and location of the event, right? Then you talk about the people. So Murad, how many people were in your club?
We were more than 12.
Okay, so there were 12 people in the Crescent Club, right? Boys and girls, boys only, teachers, parents. Who was in the club?
The just mixed boys and girls.
Any teachers? Any guides?
No, only one teacher, and she was present, like we call it the president and leader and vice president. We have got only teacher were present.
Okay, so notice president, I think is what you're saying, president.
President, sorry, president, yes.
Yeah, so she was the president of the club. What was her name?
What's her name? Just Muhabbat.
You can make it up, right? It doesn't have to be a real, so you can say Sarah. Sarah, the teacher, was the president of the club, right? So it doesn't have to, remember everybody, IELTS is not about the truth, it's about being fluent, right? So there were about 12 students, members, boys and girls, and one president, Sarah. She was the teacher. She organized and helped to manage the club, right? So the people that are in the event is very important. Now, of course, the people that you helped. So you said that you helped the poor people, not poorly, poor people. So the poor people in society, or people who had an accident, had difficulty walking. So these are all the people in the event, okay? The activities, that's a big one, and you missed that one, okay? Now, notice when I'm asking you these, Murad, you're giving me lots of good information. So what kind of activities did this club do?
We had a different activity, just a physical. We were preparing how to save people at the first aid, I mean medical aid, and how to make them happy, such kind of I don't know, I cannot remember exactly.
Murad, it's good. Again, you don't need the truth. So giving medical aid, cooking food, maybe providing them with a warm meal, right? Helping.
Sharing some gifts.
Yes, providing clothing, right? Fundraising. Do you know what fundraising is?
No, I don't know. Fundraising, what is this?
Fundraising is to collect money from the community. So you get money from the community to help these people. Fundraising, okay? So those are the activities of the event, okay? And then you have the last piece, which is the experience. So that's your experience, right? I loved being a member of this club. Club and helping people who had bad luck in life. Okay, so we can keep going, but you get the idea. So what's important, everybody, is that you understand the key information that's required when you're talking about a person, place, object, idea, or in this case, an event. As long as you remember these pieces like time, location, people, activities, and experience, and you say 1 or 2 sentences for each one, and you follow the questions on the card, you will get a good score. Does that make sense, Murad?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, got it. All right, so you were on the right track. You kind of had it. It's natural for us. So you had some of the ideas in your head, like the time and a little bit about the location. But as long as you have these and you have it in your notes, you're going to do all right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, everybody. We're starting to kind of run out of time for this session, and I wish I could hang out with you here all day long. I know it's probably getting quite late in Uzbekistan. For me, the day's just starting. It's 9:20 in the morning here for me. I do want to practice a couple of part 3 questions with some people who have not had a chance to speak yet. So would somebody like to volunteer for a part 3 question? Zuhridin, we see you there. Okay, who was that just spoke? Zuhridin, we'll give you a shot afterwards. Who just said, may I?
May I? Yeah,
Yes.
Lobar. I am Lobar.
Lovat?
Lobar.
Lobar. Okay, Lobar.
Yes.
Sure. Yes. So let's give Lobar a chance. All right, Lobar. Here we go. So what happens now is the examiner will say that is the end of part 2. Let's continue with part 3. Let's talk about social activities. What are common kinds of organizations that people participate in?
What are common kinds of organizations that people participate in? Yes. Okay. If I speak common activity, common organizations that people participate in are maybe speaking clubs and also a lot of such kind of social clubs, and there we can make such speaking activities or math activities maybe. So
Why are these kinds of clubs so popular?
they are popular because we really need it. We really need to improve our speaking, and also another kind of aspects. For example, writing or reading clubs we can organize. So that it's very important to organize such kind of events, such kind of organizations.
Okay, Lobar, I'm going to stop you there. That's good. First of all, Lobar, here's an interesting piece of feedback. Speak lots, because the more you speak, the better you speak. So you started slow, and as soon as you started speaking, it got better and better and better and better. So by the end, you're like a band 6.5, 7. At the start, you're like a band 5. So definitely go to your exam early and speak lots before you go in, okay? So that you get nice and fluent like you just did, okay? Don't overspeak. Careful not to speak too much, because the examiner will interrupt you, okay? You don't want the examiner to interrupt you. All right, another important piece of it. Just a sec, Loar. Another important piece of advice, okay? Part 3, everybody, is connected to part 2. So don't forget part 2. This happens to a lot of candidates. They take really good notes for part 2. They have some really good ideas for part 2. And then when they get to part 3, they get nervous, they get into trouble, and they forget about their part 2. So Lobar, in part 2, we talked about a few different kinds of clubs when I said that you should always think of more than one kind of club, right? Do you remember these? The football club, language club, chess club, yoga club, choir club. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Right? So those should have all popped into your mind when I asked you this question. What are common kinds of organizations that people participate in? And then immediately you could have said, well, there are lots of popular clubs that people take part in, like sports clubs, football clubs, badminton clubs, art clubs, like music clubs, painting clubs, and social clubs for speaking, so that they can improve themselves and have fun, right? All part 2. So I didn't make this up. I just thought about what I wrote down for part 2. Try it again, Lobar. What are common kinds of organizations that people participate in? Lobar, did we lose you? I think we might have lost Lobar. Yes, I think we did. That's okay. Zuhridin, are you ready?
Yes, I am, but Lobar came.
Lobar, did you come back? No, she's like, no, I'm not Lobar. No, Zuhridin, give it a shot. If Lobar comes back, it's okay. I think she's got the idea. Well, I want to give you a chance here, Zuhridin. You've been waiting there so patiently smiling at us. So let's give Zuhridin a chance. Zuhridin, what are common kinds of organizations that people participate in?
Is it okay if I give answer to second part's question, because actually it's much difficult to answer second part's question, third part questions. That's why I would answer second part's questions.
Let's try part 3, Zuhridin. Let's try part 3. I'm gonna pull teacher rank on you here. We're gonna stay with part 3. Just try the answer that I gave. It's totally fine. So what are common kinds of organizations that people participate in?
In Uzbekistan, people are attending speaking English course, especially called Ibrat Farzandlari, which is volunteer organized for Uzbek students. They give Uzbek students to learn English for free. They regularly put professional videos on YouTube, their YouTube channels. They also organized speaking master classes.
Which kinds of skills can be gained from being a member of a club?
And if you be a member of this club, you can practice your English, and you can meet 9 or 8 holder IELTS holders. They will answer your questions like we do.
Okay, that is the end of part 3. That concludes the speaking section of the IELTS exam. All right, Zuhudin, thank you. You're trying to use your part 2 answer for part 3.
It's the first time.
Clever. It was clever. Now, here's a couple of tips, everybody. Pay attention to plurals. So when the question says what kind of organizations, right, with the S, okay, the examiner is expecting at least 2-3 answers. So if you say people are attending English speaking courses, it's okay, but you have to give more than that, Zuhidin. They also love playing sports. So there are many football and basketball clubs in communities. Okay, so you have to give at least 2 or more when the question asks for a plural. All right, that's very important, everybody. All right. The other tip, this is a very important one, everyone, and you should add this to your checklist also. It'll be my final tip of the day, is do not use the word you, okay, in your speaking. So you said if you are a member of this club, don't use you. Okay, it's awkward and it makes the language lower quality. We do this a lot. We say you, but we're not actually talking about the listener. So it's bad communication. Okay, so this is my final tip of the day for this class, is do not use you in your IELTS speaking. As soon as you find yourself saying you, change it. People, members, individuals. Okay, don't say you. Okay, so avoid the word you in your communication. Okay, is that clear, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, it's a very important tip. All right, everyone, we're more or less out of time. And first of all, I want to thank everybody. I think you're an awesome group of people. You're all beautiful, brave, awesome people. I wish I could speak Uzbek as well as all of you speak English. So that's fantastic. Any last questions before we wrap up? Anybody have a question that they were dying to ask before we finish?
I have an experience.
Sure.
Yeah, I've passed it. I got band 6. Yeah, approximately 4 years ago. And, you know, in all parts of speaking, I got the same questions about holidays. In the first part, in the second part was party, and in the third part also was about holidays.
Yep.
And it was so difficult to organize. For example, in the first part, I gave everything like I'm not a social butterfly. I told some phrases that I have learned. Yeah, it was cool. And in the third part, I lost.
Yeah. So the way that the speaking works from the examiner side, this is really interesting. A lot of people don't know this because some people say, well, I got a lot of different questions and I got the same question. Why did somebody get different questions? Why did I get the same questions? What's happening? So the IELTS examiner has many questions in their booklet. Okay. And when you do part 1, the examiner starts to measure your level. So is it a band 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? When they have an idea, so in your situation, it was a band 6, right? Which means that you're fluent, okay? So when the examiner thinks, okay, this candidate is fluent, they're a band 6, I will ask them more questions on this topic to see how fluent they are. So are they very fluent? Can I get into more difficult questions, or do I need to simplify my questions? Okay. If the examiner starts to ask you some really interesting and tricky questions for part 3, it's usually a good sign. It means that you're a very high band, 7, 8, 9, and that's why they're asking you a lot of very interesting, different questions like, oh, and if you could open a travel business, what would that be? Have you ever thought about starting a business or your own company? What would be the advantages of that? So if they start to be more dynamic with these questions, it means that you're speaking really well and they're testing to see if you're a band 8 or 9. Okay. If they start asking some really simple questions like yes, no questions, so they say something like, have you ever traveled to another country? Yes or no? Have you ever tried food from another country? Yes or no? It usually is a bad sign. It means that your language is lower. So they're asking you simpler yes, no questions because they don't want you to feel terrible. And they're trying to see if, you know, if you're a band 5, 5.5 or a 6. So the examiner will adjust the questions based on their measurement from your part 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's not as simple as some people think it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
All
thank
right.
you.
You're very welcome. Again, thank you, everybody. Shardor, if you're still with us, let us know, chime in maybe, because I'm going to wrap it up. And I'm going to say goodbye to everybody here in just a moment. We'll wait for Shardor. Again, make sure to check out all of these websites and send us emails if you have more questions and you want some more help from us, okay?
Yes, I'm here and I'm listening to you. So, okay, everybody, thank you for participation and thank you, Mr. Adrian, for the interesting and fruitful lesson. And so, yes, we have, how to say, our students and our team is thinking about inviting you to Uzbekistan one day, maybe, yes, in this year, maybe next year. So, and this is the
I would love to visit. I would love to visit Shardor.
Yeah, we will talk about it later when we how to say, plan everything. And so that will be great surprise for our students and for Uzbek people, because most of the people, most of the IELTS takers, IELTS learners love your lessons and love your all, so the platform as well. Yeah, thank you for interesting lesson.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have an awesome rest of your evening. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.
O'quvchilardan qoladiganlar bo'lsa, menda bir iltimosim bor edi. O'quvchilar, dars qanday, ma'qulmi, yoqyaptimi sizlarga o'zi Mr. Adrian bilan speaking darslari?
Yaxshi bo'lyapti.
Endi rahmat. Mani bir iltimosim bo'ladi. Agar sizlar bizdan rozi bo'lsanglar va darslar yaxshi bo'lyapti deb o'ylasanglar, menga bir 5-6 ta iloji bo'lsa undan ham ko'proq fikrlar kerak. Darslar qanaqa bo'layotgani haqida video yozuv qilib, qilishga menga yordam beradigan o'quvchilar kerak. Bilasizlar, hozir hamma boshqa o'quvchilarning ta'sirotlaridan kelib chiqib yoziladi. To'g'rimi? Bizning ham hozir marketing bo'limimizda ishonasizlarmi? O'sha boshlangandan beri iltimos qiladi, video olib bering, o'quvchilardan otziv olib bering deyishadi. Lekin shunga endi mana yetib kelyapmiz, sekin ishlarni joyiga qo'yib, boshqa qilib. Shuning uchun agar kim menga shaxsiyimga yozib, men o'zimni fikrlarimni bildirib, sizlarga kurs haqida gapirib beraman, kursdagi u ta'sirotlarim haqida deb qilsanglar, yordam bersanglar, shu bo'yicha rosa xursand bo'lardim. Va albatta keyin yana oxirroqda hali bonus, bundan ham zo'r bonuslarni qilamiz, xudo xolasa. Hammaga omad, savollar bo'lsa, asosiysi platformani tashlab qo'ymanglar. Bu kurslarga nima deydi? Bu speaking darsi ham, Zoom darslari ham muhim emas. Platformaning ichidagi materiallar, yana bir marta aytaman, platformaning ichidagi materiallarni o'zlashtirib boringlar. Hammaga rahmat. Xursand bo'ldim. Bugun juda ko'pchilik qatnashdi va juda ko'pchilik meni ham eshitganidan xursandman. Sog' bo'linglar.
Rahmat akajon.
Salomat bo'linglar.